Before I go too much further, I want to have our translators come up and introduce themselves. So if anybody needs translation services, they can let you know what to do.
Muy buenas tardes, soy Mezcala Olmedo y estoy aquí para ayudarles a traducir del inglés al español. Para mí será un placer poderles ayudar en cualquier cosa. Estoy allá en aquel lado y tengo los audífonos para que ustedes puedan participar. Gracias.
안녕하세요. 한국학사입니다. 저희들 한국어로 통역을 받기 원하시는 분들은 전쪽 뒤에 오셔서 저희들 킷을 갖고 한국어로 이 회의를 통역을 들으실 수 있습니다. 예, 감사합니다.
Բարի երեկո հարգելի ծնողներ, շնորհակալություն, որ եկել եք այսօր բաժանումին մասնակցելու։ Եթե կցանկանայիք այսօր բաժանումը հայերենով լսել, խնդրում եմ մոտեցեք ինձ։ Շնորհակալություն։
All right, so again, thank you for coming tonight. Glad to see so many folks here tonight. Tell your friends about it for the next one. This is the third part in our 7-part series, and Christopher was here for the first one, at least first two, so 3 in a row. Wonderful, we're so lucky. Quick story, I dragged my daughter to the first one. She's only in 8th grade, and the whole way here, she was like huffing and buffing, like, I don't want to go to this. And by the end of it, she was like on the edge of her seat. She was so enthralled by Christopher's presentation. Such an amazing job. And so we're excited for this one as well. And our next one after this is building an impressive extracurricular profile. So be sure to attend that one as well. And on the ones that are going into next school year to kind of prepare for the cycle of applications going into the next school year. So please make sure you attend those as well. We'll put out messaging for each one of them as they come along, on social media, through your principals, and every way we possibly can to get the word out. But these are amazing opportunities for students and families to learn more about the process of applying to college. So with that, you didn't come here to hear me speak. Oh, thank you. So some of you have already figured this out without me telling you. I see phones up in the air, but if you can do the pre-survey real quick, and take your phone out and use the QR code, and then there'll be a post-survey afterward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christopher for our presentation.
And I am actually going to ramp the presentation for about 15 seconds, but I can see a few more of you raise your phones and scan my QR code, and if I see a couple more phones come up, then I'm going to go ahead with the presentation. Thank you. I am a hostile negotiator. We're just going to skip straight to my part, because I love talking about me. Hi, I'm Christopher. As mentioned, I've been here for a couple of these in a row, and I actually wasn't slated to be here for this one. We're getting an Allison. But I wanted to come for this one because this is my particular specialty, talking about how to selective admissions. As you can see, I'm there from the Some Obnoxious Crest. I did my undergrad at Yale University, and I also did a postgrad certificate at Seoul National University. I'm a college-wise master counselor. I'm the college-wise counseling manager, and I'm also our head of industry research. So I do most of our college marketplace research. I published a couple of papers on the admissions trends and admissions practices. I published the paper on the Supreme Court decision from last year that's actually now used in the counselor certification curriculum at UCLA. I have a giant nerd, and this is what I spent all of my time researching and talking about and working with students on. Less importantly, let's run through a quick set of the agenda. First, I talked about what holistic admissions is. Also, sorry, real quick. I know that I'm speaking at the speed of a chipmunk on steroids. I'm going to go through the presentation itself relatively quickly, give you the information, but leave more time for questions at the end than I usually do, largely because there's familiar faces here and you are very, very fond of questions, which I openly invite. And this is a topic that is typically better done in a Q&A format. So I'll be giving you the information kind of survey format and then leave it back for questions. If I move too quickly, especially for the translators, please just let me know, raise your hand. I know that I sound crazy. Okay, but first, we'll talk about holistic admissions and what that is, and about what we mean when we say selective for selective schools. I'll talk a little bit about test scores and a test option. Whereas, I'll also clarify that the world is becoming less and less test optional every year. We are, of course, in California, and the PUC system is that it was mandated to go test-free by the California Supreme Court, and they elected to retain that practice for a couple extra years, but for probably most of you in the room, it will continue to be test-free. You're in 8th grade. I'm not sure. They haven't confirmed that it'll be test-free long enough for you, but it will be test-free for almost everyone for my exam. I see an actual child. It may not be test-free for you. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about the ideal activities list. You see that because it quotes, because when we get there, and when you ask me about what your student needs specifically to put on their resume, I will tell you that there is no PPA path, there is no map, there is no generic ideal. If there were a map that every student followed to Columbia, and able to bring those to rope together could get there. It is all about students building their own individual pathway. I'll talk to you about how to do that, but I cannot prescribe to your student's resume. I also don't know y'all. So it does need to be very well tailored, but I'll talk to you about how to approach tailoring that. We'll talk about essays. They matter. No, you can't use ChatGPT. Yes, we can tell. And then we'll talk a little bit about the personal qualities of character. You've probably all heard these horror stories on the news about like the kid with a 412 on the AZT at 1980 courses, and they were #1 in the class, and they actually flew to Mars last week. Didn't get in. Yes, it is because in the United States, college admissions is not purely about qualifications. It is about admitting honor. If you go to any campus, if you go to any highly selected campus, it's not a bunch of 1,600 4.0s running around. It's a bunch of individual, interesting people. It is about people honor. The quantitative part of the admissions process is actually just, it's the first thing. That's actually your ticket into the admissions room. You don't make it to committee if you don't have quantitative part of it, but you don't get out of committee based on quant. The committee review, sorry, I'm talking about what I mean by committee review, but the actual selection process is no longer about the quantitative data. The quantitative data is just the first part that they look at to see if it's good enough, and then they stop paying attention to it. And then I'll talk a little bit more about what college-wise does, but I'm not going too far into that. I think that I'm up here. College-wise does what I'm doing. I'm not going to waste your time about this. But yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? You say highly selective. Generally speaking, by highly selective, we mean college's admission rate of less than about 10%. I'll actually go on to further and say it's less than 15% for highly selective. And then I also want to be super, super clear to point out that not all acceptance rates are being bullied. So what you roll for the acceptance rate of the school may not actually be the acceptance rate that's relevant to you. So earlier today, I had a bit of a disagreement with the student who said, well, UMich has an acceptance rate of 27%. And I was like, yes, lovely. You got to major in bioengineering. The acceptance rate for the School of Engineering, which is a separate process, is 15%. And then the in-state acceptance, the acceptance rate for out-of-state engineering students at University of Michigan is 5.7%. So it is very important not just to look at the first number you see when you Google it, but to double-check your specific admin information. USC is another great example. There is no such thing as applied to USC. You apply to the Dornsife College of Arts and Sciences at USC, or the Marshall School of Business at USC, or the Materna School of Engineering at USC, or the School of Cinematic Arts at USC. And each of those has a different admissions pool. Each of them has a different acceptance rate. Fun fact, the School of Cinematic Arts at USC actually has a different acceptance rate for every major. The production major there is the arts production major in the world to get into, and only 1% acceptance rate. But the Dornsife College of Arts and Sciences, as of this week, 19% acceptance rate. It depends on what you're looking at, so keep that in mind. Highly selective is often a term thrown at the Ivy League. The Ivy League, by the way, is just a sports conference. It's 8 schools that play sports together. MIT is not an Ivy League. Stanford is not an Ivy League because it's a sports conference. Most people think Ivy League just means it use it as a catch-all term to like the best or the top of the most prestigious schools. Don't define anything that you would think of when you think Ivy League is probably going to be highly selective, but just keep in mind that the Ivy League is just, it's literally just a sport conference. They play sports together so that they can maintain D1 status because we're all bad at them. So it's really easy to be D1 if you're just nerds by another Americans. We're very good at rowing though. And hockey, because we import our hockey team from Canada in there. That's not a joke. And yes, they're very selective, and all highly selective schools do very deep holistic review. Talk a little bit more about it. And yeah, I can see the examples. They're relatively obvious. We all know that those are selective to get into. And yes, UCLA and Berkeley do count as highly selective. Now, I want to talk about application trends. Basically, they've gone up. That's the short version of it. I will say, none of this is meant to be scary. There's a lot of like how to make this make sense and how this can be less daunting. I just want to share the information at the beginning. But fun fact, the rise of application numbers that's happened since COVID started isn't because suddenly there were twice as many high school students. It's because once COVID hit, everyone lost their minds a little bit and doubled the number of applications that they're sending out, which is deemed irresponsible. None of my students do that. All of my students place at amazing schools, and none of them do that. You don't have to do that to go to a great school. It is much better to have a smaller number of very, very well-made and well-targeted applications. So please don't be part of the problem. But yeah, part of the reason that the application numbers have gone up so much is just that kids are now sending out a truly unhinged number of applications. It's important for you to understand that, because when people talk about that, well, no one gets in anymore. One, yes, they do. These schools still graduate a full class of students every year. Kids are getting in. And two, the lower acceptance rate isn't a result of fewer people. It's mostly now that there has to be fewer people getting in. It's a result of more people are just sending more applications, but they admit Harvard has 1,200 freshmen on campus every year. So if they go from 20,000 applications to 30,000 applications to 40,000 applications, it's not that no one's getting in, it's that everyone who can count to 12 has decided to apply. So that's a big part of why the acceptance rates have gone down. The profile of the kids getting in is pretty similar. Yes, it's different from what it was 20 years ago, but the profile now is not different from what it was before COVID. The acceptance rates have fallen, not because the profile changed, not because what it takes to get into Harvard or Stanford or UCLA or Berkeley has changed in the past 4 years. Except for the UC is going test optional, so you can't just use your test score to get away, and you have to actually be interesting. So yes, the bad news is that the acceptance rates have fallen, but the good news is that the way to approach it isn't the same as what it was before. So don't freak out because the acceptance rates have gone down. It's actually, if you understand how it works, it's very, very, very easy. It's very easy to make the strategy. It's not easy to be a great student, to get the grades. You should be very good if you do it. But it's very easy to plan out process properly. So, a quick explanation about why having selectives are such an important thing, why it's so important to understand the reality of high selective admissions. That number for upper high schools is a little low. It's actually 33,817 high schools in the country, which means that there are 33,817 valedictorians every year. And some schools have kids who tie valedictorian. There are roughly 33,817 class presidents. And if we just assume the overlap of A and B, still, there are 34,000 a kid who was number one who had everything going every year. And the Ivy League, actually, that number says 14,536. That's actually from 2 years ago. The number has gone down to 12,800. 34,000 valedictorians, 12,800 spots. Not every number one is going to get in. And that's because it's not about just being the most highly ranked. It's about being a more interesting student. And also, candidly speaking, again, with the way admissions works in the United States, it's not just about making the most qualified. It's not just about making the smartest. It's about being interesting people they're looking for. Not every kid is going to get in. Again, that's not meant to scare you. It's meant to make sure that you are not approaching your college applications with too much naivete. It's to make sure that you're not stuck in magical thinking. Now, I'm not saying it's magical thinking to think that your student might be able to get into Stanford or MIT or Harvard or UCLA or Berkeley. I am saying that it's magical thinking to think that a college list that is Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, Harvard, Yale, the end is going to go well. Many students get these from those schools, but I do not advise that be your entire list. Now, talking a little bit more about what holistic admissions is, basically, so the first part is academics. Colleges do look at your academics because, in the end, these are institutions of learning. They are literally schools. So they need to make sure that you can do school at their level. They need to understand that you can keep up. They need to understand that you will take advantage of the academic resource they make available to you. They pay attention to 3 things. They pay attention to your course selection. So if they want to know what class you took, what class do you take, and do they tell a story? Does that story connect to the things that you're talking about? Now, I will take a step back. You do not need to pre-major. And I'm being very, very stern in this voice. It is the most annoying and most useless thing students do. You do not need to pre-major. I don't care that you decided that you love computer science when you were 7. That does not mean that everything you do in your life is to make computer science. It will backfire. You will be boring on the application office. Have fun. Take classes that you find interesting. I bullied one of my kids into dropping AP Environmental Science and taking Advanced Culinary Arts a couple years ago. He got to Stanford. He wanted to study food because he got into chemical engineering because he found out that he had to have eggs at room temperature. And we got to tell that story. He had fun, and his senior year sucked a little bit less. They want to understand who you are. Qual rigor does not work in the admissions process. They demand academic excellence. They do not demand academic perfection. It is very common that my ranked number 3 or 4 kid at their high school does better than the ranked number 1 or 2 kid at their high school because, again, for the academics, you need to show that you are smart enough to keep up with what they have going on. And then you need to show that you are interesting, that you will take advantage, that you have curiosity, that you will do something that every other kid they could admit wouldn't do. So they're paying attention to your course selection to see, are you taking agency over things? I had a kid at Yale who was a junior or a senior, now I don't remember how old Josh is, who his senior year, I convinced him to drop 2 of his AP Science or AP Math classes to take theater classes because he was applying to Yale as a theater major. And we actually talked about, at the beginning of COVID, we talked about it. He was like, I am allowed to do this for the first time ever, so I'm going to go all in on the thing that I love. It worked for him. He actually got a letter back from his admissions officer saying that they loved how much he prioritized what mattered to him. Course selection is to understand how do you approach academics? How do you prioritize your curiosity? Now, rigor, they do want to see that you are prepared for what their level is. But you don't need AP wall-to-wall necessarily. I have a kid he's a chemical engineer. I have a lot of chemical engineers. I don't know why I hate chemistry. I'm going to have a chemical engineer at Princeton, never took an AP history or English course because he was a pre-professional ballet dancer and he loved chemistry. He was like, I have time for ballet and science. Not going to try and write. Great, lovely. We just talked about that. We talked about why he chose his courses. Worked for him. He took a rigorous course look, but he did not take every single AP course that was available because he took what he was able to handle. Now, they will want to see that you are pursuing one of the highest levels of rigor available to you, but that does not necessarily mean that you took every single AP class that's available. And they pay attention to your GPA. So, taking really difficult classes and not doing well, not necessarily the right move. Taking no difficult classes, but doing really, really well, not necessarily the right moves for the highly selective schools. Now, I want to say to parents, and please don't storm out when I say this, a B+ is not a bad grade. Please don't decapitate your child to get a B. Now, get with 7 Bs, real problem on the highly selective college admissions process. But the average unweighted GPA for a freshman admit in Harvard is a 3.9. That was what white out. 24 or 26, I don't remember right now. 24 or 26% of the freshmen admitted to Harvard in 2022, so the class of 2026, 24 or 26%, I don't remember, had GPAs between 3.75 and 3.88, unweighted. I have access to the common data set. Actually, you do too if you know how to find a common data set. They're publicly available, like for documents. They hide that they're weird. And then, so again, they need to see that you're pursuing rigor. They need to see that you are doing balance out. And then for the academic preparation, they just find like, can you actually do what you're coming to do? So if you're applying for engineering and you haven't taken calculus, we have questions. If you're applying for English and you've never taken an English class, we have questions. If you're applying for the art history major, or if you're applying for museum sciences, which some of these schools actually have, and you didn't take AP art history because we about your school, we have questions. So I say this to say, don't think that you can just pick a weird little niche major and that'll help you get in if it doesn't look like that makes any sense for you. And also for the more competitive ones like computer science, engineering, and STEM, gotta be prepared for them. Pretty much all quant-related majors prefer calculus readiness, or at least calculus AB completion. So engineering, need calc, and physics. At MIT, for example, can require you to take physics to go. And if your school offers AP physics, will require you to take AP physics to be eligible for MIT. It's actually in their lines. Standardized testing, I'll go through really quickly. I found a school paper and I didn't because I'm very about taking this up my voice. Anyways, test requirements. I'll go through this quickly because I think you all know this. Test required, you gotta send the test. Test optional means that if you send the test, they will assess your application with the test scores. If you don't send your test, they will assess your application without the test scores. Test optional is not a lie. They are all actually required to show their admissions practices to the board of, I forgot what it's called, if they're going test optional, to get like the approval to make sure that it's actually test optional. So if school says it's test optional, it is test optional. There's one like weird slight exceptions to University of Michigan, they are technically test optional, but like it's well suspect. But everywhere else that says they're test optional, it's truly test optional. It says Columbia, Stanford, Harvard up there. Stanford is definitely still test optional. My alma mater, Yale, decided to be the worst this year and is ending test optional this year. Full candor, I forgot to check if Harvard's test optional because I didn't care. I think their test option for current juniors will be senior, I've never checked out what test optional. Stanford will be test optional up until 2026. And then test blind, phrase that don't actually like to use because it was the test free, means that they will not look at your test scores, even if you sign it up. The UCs are legally barred from looking at your test scores or admissions. If you set your SAT scores, they will look at them after the admissions process and use them for placement in an English or math class. But they are legally barred from looking at your SAT score in the admissions process. It was the California Supreme Court decision. I will point out that the test blind refers to the SAT and the ACT, not AP exams. The UC system still is AP exams. And Berkeley, UCLA, and UC Irvine have confirmed on their website and on their podcast list, because I'm lying, that they do use AP exams for admissions. So, one through this whole thing, you should check whether or not the skills you're applying via the SAT. If, for example, you just want to apply to Purdue because it's with an engineering school, but then it's required now. You should figure out which test works better for you. Do not blindly decide between the SAT and the ACT. Most students are naturally a little bit or a lot of it better at one of them, so I recommend taking a diagnostic of both. Do not ever take one of those tests officially on like a whim to see how you do. Take a practice test, because there are some schools, Georgetown, that require you to submit every official score that has your name on it if you do not do it by the admissions process. So take a practice test to see which one's better. Do not take an official test until you're ready. And then think about what it would add to your application. I say this very honestly. Some students are really good academics and not great test takers. Some students are not brilliant academics and use the excuse that they're not great test takers to make themselves feel better. But like I have some brilliant students where like the test isn't content for them. And so what we do is we prioritize schools where they can have a great job without the test. So I've had kids without stellar test scores, go to U Chicago. I've had kids without stellar test scores, go to Yale and find MIT, but back. But if the test score is not for you, then work on that with your list. Make sure they build a list that work quick out. And then when you're just like, look, they're submit or not submit for test optional, look at their averages. If you are near the top or above their averages, send it obviously. If you are near the bottom or below their averages, then don't send it. Okay. Extracurriculars. I'm going to run through the myths fastest. One, leadership is not about your type. It does not matter if you are president of the club if all you did was do the job requirements. What matters most is the impact made. founding a club is not better than making a strong impact in a club that is already founded. No one cares if you started a club that did something that could have been done better in a club that already existed. That's actually a sign that you cared more about your event than you did about making an impact, which is a red flag. One of the things that I work with students most about, one of the things I work with students most about is when they come to me saying like, I want to start a club to do this, I would then counter frequently with, well, there's a club at your school that already does that, and they already have the infrastructure, they already have connections. So if you went to them, you'd actually be able to do that at a much higher level and much more effectively. So go do that instead. And the pushback is, well, but I would be founder, and the pushback is, when I hunted, did I ask? No one cares if you're the founder on these applications. They care about who you are. They care about you, like, they don't want a student who's going to come to campus and be a black hole in resources. They don't want a student who's going to suck everything in. They want a student on campus who's going to contribute. So if you can't demonstrate that you care about making a contribution, they're not going to take you. And so, like, I say this not to be scared, just say it's easier than you think. Like, you don't need to come up with an idea that no one's ever had. If you're already part of a club and you realize, like, oh, something that would make this better is X. Great. Be the one who makes X happen. If you think, oh, I actually see a way that this thing I'm interested in could be a bridge between these two clubs, or this thing I do outside of school, that's cool. Make that an impact. That matters way. I'd like you to say that that's, like, when it comes to extracurriculars, what you did, the words on your resume, not the most important thing. The impact that you made, the reason you did those things is what matters the most. At some point in the past 5 years, everyone became obsessed with summer programs. And if I don't go to a selective summer program summer, my life is over. If I don't go to nerd camp, my life is over. No, that's not the case. I actually have, like, my most interesting students usually aren't doing those those pre-built summer programs because they have something more interesting to do on their own. That's not all of them as interesting students. Some of them get into like really, really, really cool summer programs. I have groups going on a hike in Alaska to do research for 2 weeks on some glacier with like 7 other girls. Again, I can kind of think we're interested in that, show them great time. But just signing up for the UCLA program or signing up for the Georgetown program is not the most important thing. It's not the most effective. There are some exceptions like RSI and NAS, Bank of America. Yes, those are actually little gold stars on the application. They're also very, very difficult to get into. And also, most kids who get into the Ivies don't have that because those programs are so small. And I also say that it's myopic to focus too heavily on those. But it's not what you do, it's why you did it. I have students who do, like, I've had several students go to like the Barnard Women's Leadership Program. And I've had 2 students there at the exact same time. And for one of them, I knew this is going to be the thing that changes everything for her. And she was really meek and she needed to be tough, like she needed to be around really good teacher to speak up for and like help her have more confidence. And that became her personal statement. And there was another girl there for whom I knew this is a waste of $7,000 of your parents' money and all of your time because she was only going to submit her application, say Barnard on it. I was like, congratulations, no one cares. It does not matter what you do, it matters why you do it and what you get out of it. Yeah. So you have to you don't need to have a patent that goes on to the Perseverance rover that launched it to Mars. That's longer, we should kind of have that. But you don't need that. The fact that we know that it was her, that she was the exception. Yes, you need to do something interesting, but you do not need to win a Nobel to get into Caltech. No offense to anyone who went to Caltech, wants to go to Caltech, and what you need to do in order to go to Caltech is be dude. My husband went to Caltech. I want to talk about essays. I'll quickly run through 3 types of essays, especially because we're here in California. First is the PIQs. Those are the UC essays, the personal insight questions. I will say this part first. The 4 PIQs, not narrative, not creative. Do not show me that you are capable of pretty proper prose. Answer the question. Honestly, I say, make it bullet points and then turn those bullet points into paragraphs. They just want you to answer the question. I do not want you to get creative. The only time you can maybe get creative is if you answer prompt 2, which is everything that's creative side, blah, 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 talks about yours. But these are for the UCs. They give you 8 of them. I forgot how many figure students for you. They give you 8 of them and you choose 4. There are no right ones to choose. The reason they give you 8 and let you choose 4 is that you're all different. And so you need to pick the 4 that works for you. Some of you will really creative, and so prompt 2 will make sense. Some of you can't draw a circle with a compass, like maybe don't do that. Some of you have an academic, really genius on one academic topic, so prompt 6 is great for you. Some of you do a ton of community service, so prompt 7 is good for you. Some of you are leaders, so prompt 1 is good for you. I'm done running through these, but there are no good ones, no bad ones. It just matters that you pick the ones that work for you. What stories do you have to tell? And then remember, for the ECs, just answer the question. And actually the ECs often say this is your chance to show us what's impressive. But you have a very, very big activities list on the ECs, so don't repeat information. Then the personal statement. The personal statement is what you're saying to most non-UC schools. It's on the Common App. It's not just private schools, it's literally most non-UC schools. So UMich gets the personal statement, UVA gets the personal statement. It's just the UCs are on their own thing. And even some schools in Texas start to kick out the Common. Anyways, the personal statement is one big essay that goes to pretty much every school you can apply to on the Common App, which yet most schools are. 650 words. That one's managed. That's one where you get to really tell them who you are. You get to tell them the story from your life. That one should be creative. That one should show them some personality. You do not need to be Jane Eyre. Jane Austen, Jane Eyre was the character. You don't need to be Jane Austen to get into college. You do not need to have the world's greatest mastery of prose. Do not use the word plethora. No one under the age of 70 has ever used the word plethora correctly. Don't use the word myriad. You will use it wrong. Also, you don't sound like a 17-year-old. Parents in the room. You can tell when you've had too much of a hand in writing these essays, because they don't sound like teenagers, they sound like 50-year-old dentists. You need to sound like a teenager. I need to be able to hear a teenager telling me this story. And I need to get to know who you are. The personal statement is not where you get to tell me what you've done, it's where you get to tell me who you are. It's not where you get to tell me all of your accomplishments as a ballet dancer. It's where you get to tell me why you love ballet. It's not where you get to tell me everything you've done as a high school or who's a paid intern in the Congress. I have one of those stories on it. It's where you get to tell me that your favorite thing that you do every year is go hiking with your family in Sedona in the same spot every year, and how you take the same picture on that rock and you meet the same really bad Mexican food every year. I have a student he was the only high school age student in the entire state of Arizona who was a paid intern for the Arizona State Congress. And his personal statement didn't mention a single thing about any of his accomplishments. It was about how he loved that trip, and this year had been to Toronto because he had gotten his license, and also he had broken his legs, he had been out of the soccer season, so he just wanted one thing in life that felt normal again, and that felt cool. Your personal statement is meant to be personal. Your resume is not very personal. Do not use this as an extended resume entry. You get the activity list for that. Then there are the supplemental essays. Those are individual essays that go to individual schools. So again, personal statement, one big behemoth, everybody gets it. Supplements are specific to each school that you're applying to. So when you do the Common App, there's the common part of the application, and then there are the individual school applications that tag on. And those schools will ask you their own questions. They'll ask you things like, Carnegie, so there are a couple of big archetypes. There's why major archetype. And that's basically just why are you interested in studying the thing? This is not your chance to prove that you're the greatest computer scientist in the world. You are not. If you are a freshman getting Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science, congratulations, every junior there could destroy you. They know that's the whole point of going. It is not your chance to prove that you're the best. It's your chance to prove that you actually have curiosity. It's your chance to show, the reason I want to do this isn't because I picked it out of the hat, because somebody told me that it would make me a lot of money, and I want to step back because, yes, I understand colleges, it's part of your pathway towards getting a career in the things. You know who doesn't want to hear the reason I picked my major is because I'll make money? Super selective colleges. Because they are universities, not vocational training grounds. And so they don't want to hear that you were using their school as a placeholder for a coding boot camp. They want to know that you'll show up and be interesting, that you'll be interested, that you'll take advantage of what they have to offer, that you'll be curious, that you will ask questions that the kid next to you is about to ask. This is where you get to show who you are and how your brain works. They'll ask you why you're, like, Carnegie Mellon doesn't even ask you why major, they ask you what experiences or perspectives in life have led you to your choice of major. They'll also ask you the why school essay. Not every student does, but one of those top ones is why school. They want to know, why do you think this is where you want to study? They don't want to hear you sit them 50 words of compliments about the school. Yale knows it's great. Dartmouth knows it's going to look nowhere. They want to hear you say, this is why I think I will enjoy my time there. They want to hear you talk about how you think it's a good fit for you. If you're applying to Columbia, they want to hear how you'll take advantage of everything Columbia has to offer. They don't want to hear you talking about New York. If you're applying to Dartmouth, they want to know that you'll thrive in Hanover, New Hampshire, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. If you're applying to Yale, they want to know that you're going to love a school that's super artsy and where everyone is singing all the time and the acapella groups are really annoying and there's always a kid playing guitar in the quad. They want to know how you would have actually imagined your life at that school. And really, they want to know, are you applying here because you and your parents spoke with the U.S. Wilderness rankings and you picked the top 10? Or are you applying here because you legitimately think that this is the place you can thrive? Because again, I'm causing you should be very proud. Like, the students who achieve such great academics should be really proud. If you get really good grades in really art class, get really good test scores, be proud. That's hard, I know. But it's not spec. There are tens of thousands of students who do that. Yes, be very proud, and it's really hard. But the thing is, then there's no shortage of those kids in their application. So they don't just want to know, you're the smartest, yay, come on over. They want to know, you're the one for us. You're the one who fits in with what we have. Duke doesn't want kids who are going to lock themselves in the library all day, every day, because Duke it's a big school. You get like the big school experience activity. Like Amherst and Duke don't want the same thing. They want to know that you know what their life, a student like theirs like. The supplemental essays are where they get to figure out, are you one of us? Not are you smart enough to be one of us, but are you the type of person who is one of us? Oh, and then also there are little red flags to look for sometimes. Just to give you a heads up on the MIT application, there are a couple of questions there where one of them is we know that you do many things in life, blah, 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 most of which you will target with something you do for fun. Anyone who's looking to apply to MIT, WMEN is actually, it's like an acronym that they often use on, like it's just write it in red on applications that aren't sent to committee. It stands for with by myself. Because MIT specifically is looking for, are these students who are too antisocial? We don't want an entire community of antisocial students or asocial students. So they're looking to see, is every part of your life is solo where you actually believe in participating in the community and collaborating? Because MIT is a place where everyone collaborates. MIT understands the works of scientists working together. So with my myself was one. And some schools, when they ask you that, like, what's the time when something went poorly, especially for the heights, like just they ask you, what's the time something went poorly and how to learn from it? Don't talk about like that one time when I got an A-. No. Those schools are legitimately asking, hey, when you get here, it's gonna get harder than anything you've experienced. We need to make sure you're not going to crack. So they legitimately want to know that you know how to handle something difficult. So don't humble brag on the what's on time you failed question. Actually, answer the question. And that applies to all supplements. Don't answer the question you wish they were asking. Answer the question they asked you. I already said those things, but first is like, don't try to impress them. Tell your story. Fill in the details. Like the details matter. Like, I don't remember what Dev ordered at that Mexican restaurant, but he wrote it, like he wrote his specific order in there. Like the reason I remember these kids' stories is that they're so full of details. And again, your personal statement's not really to prove you're smart enough. It's where you get to show that you are, like, your personal statement is your one chance to make the admissions officer like you. The more you try to impress us, the less we like you on that personal statement. It's your chance to endear someone. one of my co-members used to work at Caltech, and what he actually said was, when I read the personal statement, the only thing I'm thinking is, will anyone want to be this kid's roommate? That's like, they're looking to see, will you actually be a contributing entity on this campus? I know you're smart, but everything else on there. And again, this, like the personal qualities, this is like one of the biggest things that that they're looking for. They want to get to know, who are you? Like, how do you participate in the world around you? It's why when you look at the letters of like, if you look at the letters of recommendation, like questionnaire that's in there, there's like a big part of this questionnaire. Most of the questions on the teacher questionnaire aren't about your academic ability. There are 2 questions at the top that are about your academic ability and intellectual promise. The 3rd question is about your quality of writing, which only applies to teachers who seek to write it. And then the rest of them are about maturity is near the bottom, your response to setbacks, your work ethic, there's a word for honesty, integrity. Like it's all about who you are on that recommendation too. Most of what they care about is, will our professors like having you in class, or are you a grade level who's really annoying? Like, it's so much that's left who you are. So like, I said at the top that I didn't want to make this, like, this isn't meant to be scary. I know I'm speaking a very stark voice of this because a lot of people believe things that I'm very, but like, the most important thing you can do is be a teenager. Do the things you love, do them as well as you can. Don't pre-major. Like, you need to meet the like academic preparations and take care of the stream of French, but like, don't let your whole life be your college application. One of the things I do most as a counselor is stop students from letting their whole life be an application or be a resume, because that looks better on an application or resume. Because when you apply Brown will ask you, tell us about something that brings you joy. If you say that chemical research brings you joy, I will throw your computer out the window. They legitimately want to know about you. And we should continue to talk. So like, the best thing you could do is do great in school, get those test scores, and then be a teenager. If being a teenager for you means staring at your kneecaps, like, okay, maybe adjust. But like, do all the things you're gonna love of. And then it's all about fit. Like, look, I think it's pretty, check for who's checking for you. Like, the University of Chicago does not want overly practical students. The University of Chicago, they love cheapest geekery. They don't want that kid who is very clearly just doing everything for the resume, like just like on like a super clearly practical path. UPenn loves that though. Like, that's why it's important to get to understand the schools, because you get to understand what are the students the school's looking for, who are the kids that they accept, what type of intellectual are they, so you can figure that out for yourself. If you want to go to Rennes, you have to be ever so slightly crazy, like my best friend. If you want to go to Dartmouth, you need to be a weird little mountain man, like my husband, his graduate is from Caltech. If you want to go to Harvard, you need to be obnoxious. But you need to get to know what kind of student they love. And then field is just about why they care about, like why you need to show fit is that you need to show that you would actually want to go there, because they also don't want wasting us. And then this is just, College West is very good at getting kids into highly selective schools. We're way above the national averages. And this is about us. So I'm going to go ahead and skip it. The sales team will be bad at me, but I want to give you time for question. So I'm going to skip this. Okay, question. I'm the college vice master counselor. I am meeting, which is that the account from manager, so I manage half plus of my accounts of staff, and I'm the head of our industry and research.
College like
I probably should have, sorry. College West is we're the nation's largest college counseling firm, the independent educational consulting firm. We are the official partner of the Common App itself. So we actually write the Common App's official guide every year, which is why we talk about it. And we are also the counseling arm of Michelle Obama's Reach Higher initiative. And then we are also, as a month ago, we are the official college counseling division of the Johns Hopkins Center for Counseling. Yeah, cool. And I do all the braces for fun. Yeah.
It's it. Oh, God.
use social media. I took like, look at TikTok, look at Instagram, go on Reddit if you have the right frontal lock set up, because that's where the students are posting. So you can see if those kids are like if I go on the internet, I just like look up the geotag for the geotag for outside. Well, it's a public cover. Like if you go to school and you look at the geotag